Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Kill the Jockey. And this is a new film coming to you, this psychological drama, crime sports film from writer-director Luis Ortega. And this film focuses on the story of Remo, whose self-destructive behavior overshadows his talent. Abril, an upcoming jockey, is pregnant by Remo and has to decide between a child or continuing to race. They both race for Sirena, a businesswoman who saved Remo's life in the past, and this connection to organized crime. And this film just keeps having more layers to it. This, from a visual standpoint, is a really gorgeous film with a lot of symmetry, a lot of bold colors. There's a couple of moments of dancing and singing and stuff like that throughout this film that just brings a certain level of joy to the experience of watching this film. And I think the cinematography from Timo Salminen is really well done. The music and atmosphere that Ortega pulls together, I think, is very effective. And I'll say this, there's a fine line between a creative fluidity in terms of cinematic experience and that fine line between just the messy, narrative that doesn't make any sense. And I think the audience's measure of how much they're into, artistic, art house, avant-garde kind of cinema is going to really decide how much they're going to buy into this ridiculous movie. Because over the course of an hour and 36 odd minutes, this goes all over the place. There's so many characters and settings and these wild shenanigans. And there's so many wild things that happen. Naul Perez Biscariat, who plays Remo, he does this really impressive performance portraying a man who gets this very serious concussion and then starts believing himself to be, I believe her name is Dolores. And this exploration of his real identity, and identity becomes such a big part of this film because Abril starts having this affair with this alluring lesbian who it's hard for her to say no to. And Ursula Corbaro does such a great job as Abril, balancing she's pregnant. What does she do with this kid? Does she have this connection with Remo anymore? Does she really want to be happy with this other woman? And it's steamy, it's intense, and there's those elements that all come together there. And then the layers here of all of this crime thriller, these organized crime elements as well in the story, where it's just there's a bunch of mafia stuff going on, and there's just so many wild plot points of having a race between a mustachioed man driving a car against Remo on his horse, and all of these different kinds of elements that are thrown all around. I can completely understand some of just being this is a hot mess and I don't connect with this, versus it feels like a very interesting collage of human experiences that come together and really reshape the lives of Remo and Abril throughout this journey. Will they put different aspects of their lives behind them? Will they move forward together? And I found pretty interested. I will say there are definitely moments where I'm just what's going on and why are we here? Is this really necessary? But the overall journey, I think, is pretty compelling and interesting and dynamic in so many ways. And I think Ortega has just this bold singularity of cinematic voice that he brings to the table. And this just becomes such a unique and interesting art house film with, there's definitely some Wes Anderson type visual storytelling and visual motifs. It's just such a beautiful looking film with some strong performances and such wild, interesting characters to appreciate. But those are my thoughts on Kill the Jockey. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.